Hello, for this exercise we're looking at tone and mark making, or graphite tone and mark making, and how we can bring in what we learnt last week in tone and combine it with what we learnt a few weeks before with mark making. I've already just done a very simple line drawing and I'm actually using Bristol board. I thought it'd be quite interesting to do this on Bristol board this week instead of cartridge. Bristol board is very, very smooth, very, very white, and you can see really clearly the marks I'm going to be making, and it won't pick up, there's no grain like you get very soft grain with cartridge paper, so it's just going to be very marks on smooth paper. And also I just want you to see how I move differently when I'm trying to suggest different elements, sort of like plants as opposed to clouds and the building. I've got a printout of my drawing and it's kind of like, it's slightly blurred everything, there's not much detail in there, but what it does give me is an awful lot of tone. Really good way of seeing what tones are in relation to each other is to half close your eyes, and if you see something as a solid shape, then you can actually, solid form, then you can think of that as one tone. Okay, so it's quite nice to kind of like simplify things when you don't have to do every bit of detail. Okay, so I drew this with a 2H because I wanted to keep my point really light, and I wanted to kind of like, and fine on the paper. I wanted to kind of like not have a heavy start. Okay, so I've drawn my top of my building. I've started to put my kind of like clouds in, and I kind of like with many things, I'll kind of like have a loose flowing style, and I'll start to kind of like just stroke in the shading on the clouds. So I don't know if you can pick this up, because the thing is with Bristol board, it's probably kind of like picks up quite a lot of the shine. But I'm just going to kind of like slowly, and doing like a circular fashion here. I'm setting this sort of like, I guess, the light mid-tone. So if I've got my clouds, the light of my clouds will be my lightest point, and then the sky will be the next tonally. But I just want to kind of like have the softly fill that in and actually have a kind of like slightly feathered edge going towards my clouds, so I can just blend it as I go. So it's not an afterthought, it's sort of just in the process, and just kind of like keep it sort of like soft circular, but also keep a sort of direction going too. So it's like kind of like round, and then I can want to try and get a sort of like feathery edge. Again, I'll just softly pull it in. I'm also using a rubber here. Good thing to do with your rubber is to try and clean it first. So just kind of like give it a kind of like a rub down on your table, because what you don't want to do is kind of like take a dirty rubber and kind of like and have lots of smudges. Okay, so I'm doing 2H on the clouds, and I'll probably kind of like may make that a little bit darker. But not yet. So I want to then start to work on my building, and again I'm actually just going in with my 2H, and I do definitely want to have this kind of like darker, but I'm just giving a base. I'm doing it in a linear motion, so I'm not doing it circular, I'm doing it linear. And it gets a little bit lighter over here, so I'm going to just stroke it down. I sort of did a little mark earlier, but I'm just going to pull it down. I do have a few bricks that I can see there. I want this to be darker, so I'm just going to start to bring in a darker tone. But this is my mid-tone, because my mid-dark tone, because the darkest is in the foliage down below. So I'm just going to build it up. I'm not going to go in super dark right at the beginning. I'm just going to just check at the side. Maybe I'll start with a B. Just give this a sharp, and I want to keep my pencil sharp as well. I'm just going to just bring that in to have a nice point, and then I've got control. I'm not going to pick out details, all the details. I will do in some areas, but it's quite nice just to have a kind of like the solid tone in some areas. I don't want it to be just totally streaky though. I think I can, a little bit of differentiation there. I might go a little bit darker again, because I want it to be subtle but not too much. Right, I'm going with a 3B here, and I'm just going to slowly go over. Just want it silhouetted on the light clouds. I'm going a little bit tighter here because I don't want it to be a really broken tone. I want it to be kind of like quite tight. I'm just keeping it linear as well. Might cross over occasionally just to break that up a little bit. I think that works a little bit better. And I can keep my edges kind of like quite sharp if my pencil's sharp. Okay, so that's the approach I'm going to take to the castle. And then I just want to quickly start to look at the foliage and the marks I make for that. So the soft broken, so I'm just going to start to do a more of a beat mark making down here. And once again, I'm sort of like setting the groundwork with my H2H. It's very, very light. It's quite nice. This sort of like fades in. So I'm differentiating between the two. And it gets sort of like darker the further down it gets. So I'm doing a crisscrossing. When I started making the marks here, I was kind of like had it growing up because it grows up, and now I'm pulling it down, and I will start with a 4B, and I'll start to pick out foliage, and I'm just doing a beats there. Quite nice to experiment with different types of paper to get still kind of like richness, but this would behave very, very differently on cartridge paper. Okay, so for each of my elements I've just been changing direction and the flow. So this is more of a beat up there, more of a movement, a circular movement, moving in a linear direction. And here I've been sort of like very linear up and down, and then trying to just break up that linear by going across a little bit. I'm going to carry on and finish this and show you the end result. Okay, bye bye.